The internet has been absolutely buzzing about a so-called Jewish Messiah who supposedly was crowned king on Passover. His name is Jiziahu ben David, or Hezekiah son of David in English. Now, from a Christian point of view, this is not our Messiah, obviously. But does this man play a role in the end-time prophecies? Or was this some kind of hoax? Dozens of members of our community have been asking our opinion about these videos that are floating around the internet. Many have been asking, is this man the man of sin? Is this the false prophet? Has the tribulation started? Will he build the third temple? We're going to do our best to answer all those questions, and we're starting right now. Our recommendation to this community is don't be surprised by things like this, because they are exactly what Jesus said we should expect. For many will come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah, and they will lead many astray. Jesus tells us many will claim to be the Messiah, not one or two, but many. So this guy isn't the last. But he is the first one in centuries who seems to be making some kind of semi-legitimate claim to be a Messiah. So he is worth examining and talking about. But the first question is, did this even happen? Or is it fake news? All of this seems to have arisen after a Spanish language video was released a couple days ago, and numerous English language videos have followed. But all based on that original Spanish one. So until we have better evidence, we should all hold these claims with skepticism. However, the video does show numerous rabbis at the Western Wall kissing the hand of this man and treating him with great respect. That is not a normal event. So in the eyes of these rabbis, this is a special man. It is said they secretly crowned him king and Messiah on Passover. And it is said this fulfilled prophecy of a Kabbalist rabbi named Kaduri and another named Shoshani, who foresaw the Messiah being revealed on a Sabbath. My cynical view is that it is very easy to reveal the Messiah on the right day if you already know that day in advance. But more on these mystic prophecies in just a moment. However, let's look at what we can ascertain about this man and the events that happened, because some things about it are interesting. First, the man's birth name appears to be Solomon Judah, and he recently took up the name Hezekiah. Solomon is a name that happens to be associated with the number 666 in 1 Kings 10:14, so the name Solomon has been considered as a possible name of the Antichrist. Now, I think this man's name is just a coincidence, but we should keep that in mind. Second, he is claimed to be a descendant of King David. Necessary, of course, for someone to claim to be a Jewish Messiah, but how sure can he be of that, as all the genealogical records of Israel have been lost? Back in the days of Jesus, when the Messiah was eagerly awaited, most, if not all, families kept genealogical records, but that is no longer the case. But this man claims to be a descendant of David, and we should be skeptical about that claim as well. It's also been stated this man is half Jewish and half Muslim. I found that rather unusual for a man claiming to be the Jewish Messiah. But frankly, our ministry's opinion is that this is a very likely scenario for the eventual man of sin, someone who can bring both Muslim and Jewish people together and unify them. Although personally, I expect an ethnic Jew who practices Islam rather than the other way around, as this scenario has it. Let's also discuss the Kabbalist or mystical rabbi's prophecies. It's quite interesting that the videos I watched combined the prophecies of two different rabbis kind of into one. The one rabbi had predicted the Messiah would come on Rosh Hashanah of 2019. Now, obviously, that is a false claim. But in these videos, that claim was somehow combined with another about Israeli elections. There's so much wrong with that approach, I don't even know where to start. Christians should not be accepting prophecies from individuals who don't have the Holy Spirit. I mean, If it's not coming from the Holy Spirit, where are these prophecies coming from? And on top of that, combining two of them together is just crazy. So if you have seen these videos and thought there was truth in the prophecies they're talking about, please beware. Now let's start answering some of those questions you have asked. First, the big one. Is this the man of sin? Is this the Antichrist? I think that's highly unlikely. He is not an Assyrian, as indicated in Micah 5. But frankly, we will only know who the man of sin is and his identity when he sits in the holy place and declares himself God. As we stated previously, we are to expect a lot of false messiahs, even ones who perform miraculous acts. And no one is saying that this man is doing that yet. But it is the taking away of the daily sacrifices and the sitting in the holy place and declaring himself God that marks someone as the Antichrist. We all need to be careful to not give someone this title of Antichrist without the evidence Jesus told us to look for. Well, what about him being the false prophet? The false prophet is someone who focuses on getting the world to worship the beast, and we don't see this man focusing attention on anyone else. So as of right now, this man doesn't seem to fit that role. In fact, all he seems to be is a very good teacher of Torah from what I can ascertain. What about him building the third temple? Well, the Jews definitely think the Messiah will build the temple. So this is something to consider if he is publicly announced to be the Messiah. But remember, we haven't heard anything from this man yet. We need to patiently watch rather than assume too much too early. Finally, is this the beginning of the 70th week of Daniel? Is it the tribulation? Well, we don't know. But interestingly, there are a couple of coincidences. Last year, in this previous video, we discussed how the year before the 70th week is going to be a Shemitah year, a year when the agricultural fields of Israel were to lay fallow. In that video, we indicated that it was unusual that the whole world was shut down last year, 2020, almost like it was God enforcing a super Shemitah on the whole world. If you want to see that video, you can click in the upper right. And now this year, a Messiah candidate seems to be arising. And the first end-time sign Jesus told us about was that false prophets and messiahs would arise. And both of these things, last year's shutdowns, this year's Messiah candidate, both happened in March, right after the beginning of their respective Jewish holy years, right at the beginning of the year. So there are three coincidences. Am I ready to say we are in the tribulation? Absolutely not. However, these coincidences are interesting. They are the kind of thing we should keep our eyes on. But will the tribulation begin with the coming of false prophets and messiahs like we were just talking about? Most people, including me, believe the first seal is the coming of false prophets and messiahs. So could what we are seeing right now be the first seal opening? We don't know, but it could be. It is possible. Let's see if more prophets and Messiah candidates arise this year. If you want to learn more about why this ministry believes the first seal is the deception of false prophets, click right here to learn how the same 13 events in exactly the same order are found in Matthew 24 and also in Revelation 6, and that this is the roadmap to the end times that helps us identify all the seals. With all that's going on in the world right now, you should see this video. This is Nelson, and I'll see you there.